Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our English Learning podcast. I'm Jennifer, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Elizabeth. How are you today, Elizabeth?
Hi, Jennifer. I'm doing great, thank you. I'm really excited about today's topic because it's one that touches on environmental conservation, recreation, and even economic development. Should there be more national parks in the United States? The U.S. is home to some of the most beautiful natural landscapes in the world, and national parks play a critical role in preserving these areas. But with growing concerns about climate change, biodiversity loss, and habitat destruction, many people believe it's time to expand the national park system. Today, we'll dive into the arguments for and against creating more national parks and explore the impact that expanding protected areas could have on the environment, local communities, and the economy.
That's right, Elizabeth. National parks are often called America's best ideal because they protect some of the country's most iconic landscapes and offer a space for people to connect with nature. But as you mentioned, there's a growing debate about whether we should create more of them. The U.S. already has 63 national parks, but with the pressures of urban development, deforestation, and industrial activities, many argue that it's not enough. Expanding the national park system could help protect more ecosystems, support wildlife conservation, and provide recreational opportunities for future generations. On the other hand, there are concerns about the costs and logistics of creating and managing new parks. It's a complex issue with a lot of factors to consider, and today we're going to break it all down.
Exactly. And for our listeners out there, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic. Do you think the U.S. should have more national parks? What would the benefits or challenges be? Share your opinions with us, and we might even feature them in a future episode. So, Jennifer, let's start by discussing the arguments in favor of creating more national parks. What are some of the key reasons people believe the U.S. should expand its national park system?
Well, Elizabeth, one of the most compelling reasons to create more national parks is the need to protect natural landscapes and biodiversity. As urbanization, agriculture, and industrial activities continue to spread, more and more wild habitats are being destroyed or fragmented. This loss of habitat is one of the leading causes of species extinction and the decline of biodiversity. By designating more areas as national parks, we can ensure that these ecosystems are protected from development and human interference. National parks act as safe havens for wildlife, allowing animals to thrive in their natural environments without the threat of habitat destruction.
That's such an important point, Jennifer. The idea of biodiversity conservation is central to the argument for expanding the national park system. National parks provide a space for species to live, breed, and migrate without the pressures of human activities like logging, mining, or urban development. In fact, many endangered species like the grizzly bear, the California condor, and the Florida panther have found refuge in national parks. Expanding these protected areas could help ensure that more species are given the chance to recover and avoid extinction. It's not just about preserving the beauty of nature, it's about protecting the intricate web of life that sustains ecosystems.
Exactly, Elizabeth. And beyond protecting biodiversity, creating more national parks can also help address climate change. Forests, wetlands, grasslands, and other natural landscapes play a crucial role in sequestering carbon, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and storing it in vegetation and soils. When these areas are left intact, they help mitigate the effects of climate change by acting as carbon sinks. By expanding the national park system, we can protect more of these natural carbon sinks and prevent further deforestation and degradation, which release stored carbon back into the atmosphere.
Absolutely, Jennifer. National parks are not only places of natural beauty but also critical tools in the fight against global warming. Protecting more land as national parks means protecting more forests, wetlands, and other ecosystems that naturally absorb greenhouse gases. In addition to storing carbon, national parks can help protect water resources by maintaining healthy watersheds. Many national parks contain rivers, lakes, and aquifers that provide clean drinking water to millions of people. By creating more national parks, we can safeguard these important water sources from pollution and over-extraction.
That's such a great point, Elizabeth. National parks are often home to pristine watersheds, which are essential for maintaining water quality and ecosystem health. Expanding the national park system could help protect more of these vital water sources and ensure that they remain clean and healthy for future generations. And beyond the environmental benefits, national parks also provide significant economic benefits. They attract millions of visitors each year, generating billions of dollars in tourism revenue. More national parks would mean more opportunities for outdoor recreation, which could boost local economies and create jobs in areas like hospitality, transportation, and retail.
Exactly, Jennifer. Ecotourism is a major economic driver in many regions, especially rural areas where other industries might be struggling. National parks attract visitors who spend money on lodging, dining, guided tours, and outdoor activities like hiking, camping, and wildlife viewing. This influx of tourism can help support local businesses and create sustainable jobs. For many communities, the creation of a new national park could be a lifeline for their economy, providing a steady source of income and helping to diversify local industries.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. And let's not forget the cultural and educational benefits of national parks. National parks serve as outdoor classrooms, where people can learn about natural history, geology, ecology, and cultural heritage. Many national parks protect historically significant sites, such as Native American lands, Civil War battlefields, and prehistoric fossil sites. By creating more national parks, we can ensure that these important cultural and historical landmarks are preserved for future generations and that people have the opportunity to learn about the rich history and natural wonders of the U.S.
Exactly, Jennifer. National parks are more than just natural landscapes. They're places where we can connect with our cultural heritage and learn about the history of the land and the people who lived there long before us. In addition, national parks provide a space for recreation and mental well-being. With more people living in cities and urban areas, national parks offer a much-needed escape into nature, where people can enjoy activities like hiking, birdwatching, and stargazing. Spending time in nature has been shown to have positive effects on mental health, reducing stress, anxiety, and depression.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. Research has shown that spending time in natural environments can improve both physical and mental health. National parks provide a space for people to recharge and reconnect with nature, which is especially important in today's fast-paced, technology-driven world. Creating more national parks would give more people access to these benefits and help ensure that everyone, regardless of where they live, has the opportunity to enjoy the outdoors. It's not just about protecting the environment, it's about promoting quality of life and well-being.
So, from the perspective of those who support the creation of more national parks, the key arguments are that they help protect biodiversity and natural landscapes, mitigate climate change, provide economic and educational benefits, and promote mental and physical well-being. But of course, creating more national parks isn't without its challenges. Let's now talk about the arguments against creating more national parks. What are some of the concerns that people have?
Well, Elizabeth, one of the main concerns about creating more national parks is the cost and logistics of managing them. National parks require significant funding to maintain infrastructure, provide visitor services, and protect natural resources. The U.S. National Park Service is already facing a multi-billion-dollar backlog in deferred maintenance, meaning that many existing parks need repairs and upgrades. Critics argue that rather than creating new parks, we should focus on maintaining and improving the parks we already have. They worry that expanding the park system could spread resources too thin and lead to underfunding of both new and existing parks.
That's such an important point, Jennifer. The issue of funding is a major concern for those who are hesitant to create more national parks. The National Park Service is responsible for managing millions of acres of land, and with limited funding, it can be difficult to keep up with the needs of the parks. This includes maintaining trails, visitor centers, campgrounds, and roads, as well as managing wildlife populations and addressing environmental threats like wildfires and invasive species. Critics argue that adding more parks to the system could create more challenges for an already overstretched agency.
Exactly, Elizabeth. Another concern is the potential conflict with local communities and private landowners. In many cases, the creation of a national park requires the government to acquire land, either through purchase or eminent domain. This can lead to tension with local residents who may not want to sell their land or who are concerned about losing access to resources like grazing rights, water, or timber. Critics argue that creating new national parks can lead to displacement of local communities and economic activities, particularly in rural areas where land use is tied to livelihoods.
Absolutely, Jennifer. The issue of land rights and property ownership is a significant concern, especially in areas where people depend on the land for farming, ranching, or other economic activities. While national parks can provide economic benefits through tourism, not all communities are eager to see their land turned into a protected area. There's also the concern that creating new parks could limit access to public lands for recreational activities like hunting, fishing, and off-roading, which are important to many people. In this view, expanding the national park system could reduce recreational opportunities for those who enjoy other types of outdoor activities.
That's such a great point, Elizabeth. In addition to concerns about land use and recreational access, some critics argue that the creation of more national parks could lead to increased environmental pressure on existing parks. As more people visit national parks, the parks themselves can suffer from overcrowding, erosion, pollution, and wildlife disturbances. Some parks, like Yosemite and Yellowstone, already struggle to manage the millions of visitors they receive each year. Critics worry that adding more parks to the system could exacerbate these issues as more people flock to newly designated areas.
Exactly, Jennifer. Over-tourism is a major issue in many national parks, and expanding the park system could unintentionally lead to more environmental damage if visitor numbers aren't properly managed. Trails can become eroded, wildlife can be disturbed, and pollution from vehicles and litter can harm the very ecosystems the parks are meant to protect. In this view, creating more national parks might actually lead to more environmental degradation if we don't have the resources to manage them properly and ensure that they're sustainable.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. So, from the perspective of those who are skeptical about creating more national parks, the key concerns are the costs and logistics of managing new parks, the potential conflict with local communities and landowners, and the risk of over-tourism and environmental pressure on existing parks. As we can see, there are valid arguments on both sides of this debate.
Absolutely, Jennifer. And speaking of different perspectives, I think it's a great time to hear from one of our listeners. Let's take a call from someone who might have an interesting perspective on whether the U.S. should create more national parks.
Hi there, you're on the air with Jennifer and Elizabeth. What's your name, and where are you calling from?
Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Elizabeth. My name is Sam, and I'm calling from Denver, Colorado. I've been listening to your podcast for a while now, and I love today's topic. I wanted to share my thoughts because I work as a park ranger, and I've seen both the benefits and challenges of managing national parks.
Hi, Sam. Thank you so much for calling in. We'd love to hear more about your experience working as a park ranger. What do you think? Should the U.S. create more national parks, or should we focus on maintaining the ones we already have?
Well, I think it's a balancing act. On one hand, I believe that we should absolutely create more national parks to protect vulnerable ecosystems and provide more opportunities for people to connect with nature. There are so many beautiful landscapes that deserve protection, and national parks are one of the best ways to ensure that they remain intact for future generations. But on the other hand, I've seen how difficult it can be to manage the parks we already have. There's a lot of deferred maintenance, and it can be hard to keep up with the needs of the parks, especially with the growing number of visitors. I think we need to find a way to address those challenges before expanding the park system.
That's such a valuable perspective, Sam. It sounds like you believe in the importance of protecting more land, but that it's also important to ensure that the parks are well managed and properly funded. Do you think there are ways to improve the management of national parks to address some of these challenges?
Definitely. I think one of the most important things we can do is increase funding for the National Park Service so that we can properly maintain the parks and provide better visitor services. We also need to focus on sustainable tourism practices to reduce the environmental impact of visitors. That means improving infrastructure, like trails and campgrounds, to handle more visitors without damaging the environment, and educating visitors about how to be responsible and minimize their impact.
That's such great insight, Sam. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thanks for having me. I love listening to your podcast, and I'm excited to hear more episodes.
Thanks so much for calling in, Sam. Take care.
Bye, Sam.
That was a great call from Sam. He really highlighted the importance of balancing the need for conservation with the challenges of managing national parks in a sustainable way.
Absolutely, Jennifer. And for those of you listening, if you're enjoying our podcast, please like and subscribe to our channel. Your support really helps us keep creating these episodes and sharing more interesting topics with you.
So, where does that leave us in our discussion today? I think it's clear that the question of whether the U.S. should create more national parks is a complex and nuanced one. On one hand, national parks play a crucial role in protecting biodiversity, mitigating climate change, providing recreational opportunities, and supporting local economies. On the other hand, there are concerns about the costs, logistics, and potential environmental impacts of expanding the park system.
Exactly, Jennifer. Key takeaway is that while creating more national parks could have significant environmental and economic benefits, it's important to ensure that these parks are properly managed and that we address the existing challenges facing the National Park Service. This means investing in maintenance, promoting sustainable tourism, and working with local communities to ensure that the creation of new parks benefits everyone.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. Ultimately, the decision to create more national parks should be based on a careful assessment of the needs of the environment, the economy, and local communities. Whether we're protecting wildlife habitats, preserving cultural heritage, or providing spaces for recreation, national parks are an essential part of our natural and cultural legacy. And as we face the challenges of climate change and biodiversity loss, expanding the national park system could play a critical role in ensuring a more sustainable future.
We hope today's discussion has given you some new insights into the question of whether the U.S. should create more national parks. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for listening. We're always here to share new insights and help you learn English while exploring important topics like this one. Keep listening, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye for now, everyone. And remember, whether you're hiking in a national park or exploring your own backyard, protecting the natural world is a responsibility we all share.